Hey there, and welcome to an episode of One Email, Two Takes. I'm your co-host, Will Allred, and on this week, we are looking at a classic question if you've lived in the world of sales, which is why are lead gen companies so bad at lead gen? Now, if you're not familiar with the show, what I do is I take emails that have either been sent to me or someone has requested feedback for the purpose of the show, and I go through the email that they've written and then I offer two takes, two perspectives on how they could have written the email differently. So this week, as I mentioned, we have an email from a lead gen agency. So Will, I wanted to follow up on my last email. And our retention rate working with companies like yours, 87% after 2 months, because we keep bringing them new customers. Our email tech plus your killer offer sent hundreds of times a day to targeted lead lists. You will consistently generate leads. Simply put, what we do works. Because we are specifically looking for data analytics and software companies similar to you, we only have 5 spots available in your industry. Would you be open to discuss the above over a quick 15-minute call? Wow. Well, there's nothing that says I understand what you do, like our email tech and your killer offer. So, just for some context, what we sell is email software. So, I can assure you that whatever they're trying to offer here is certainly not as targeted as they think it is. So, let's go through some of the obvious things that I like really just don't like about this email. First is just starting off on this cliche of I wanted to follow up my last email. You don't need it. It doesn't actually add any value. Um, there's other ways that you can phrase this that feel more internal. They don't feel as salesy. But just saying I wanted to follow up doesn't necessarily do anything other than you following up, right? So the other piece here, our retention rate working with companies like yours. What does that mean, like yours? It signals that you're kind of faking this idea of personalization, which puts you on the wrong foot with pretty much anyone you're trying to sell to. And then on top of that, you then add some retention metric that isn't that great. It's kind of one of these retention metrics that leave me scratching my head like, okay, like I don't really know what context in which I'm supposed to absorb that. Um, I don't know why after 2 months is particularly helpful as a metric as well. But anyways, we keep bringing them new customers. Okay. Our email tech plus your killer offer sent hundreds of times a day to targeted lead lists. All of these things are just like things that are anti how we view email at our company. And so it's just like we wouldn't send hundreds of emails a day. That's not our forte. And so the ideas here are just like poorly targeted to who they're reaching out to. And you think about like lead gen, right? I've always wondered, like it's the idea that they're trying to showcase that they can do scaled outbound and maybe it works, but regardless, they're not writing emails that I would particularly want to engage with myself. So why would I want them writing emails on my behalf? The last piece that I wanted to, actually, the last two pieces I wanted to hit on was this idea we only have 5 spots available. Get out of here. Like you're a company, you'll scale up and you'll figure it out. Like you probably have more spots than that. The other thing is like data analytics and software, like that's super vague. But I wanted to hit on this quick 15-minute call. As soon as I see 15 minutes, like my eyes just like glaze over and I'm immediately, you know, tuned out from whatever it is that they're sending. So there's several things in here. Also some interesting context. This could have probably been sent as a cold email. It's a follow-up, as you can see here. It's all trash though, regardless, right? You know it's spam. We know it's spam. Like, why are you hitting send on this? So let's talk through some better ways to follow up. Because this was a follow-up email, it immediately sparked me to think of one framework that I like in particular, which is this idea of BAR. BAR is a really simple idea of if you're in a job interview and someone asks you about an experience, you're going to give them a response that is either a star or bar response, right? So you give background, the action taken, and the results that came on the other side. Well, case studies fall into this exact same lens. And so if I'm going to send somebody a case study, or I'm going to talk about, we've got this retention rate of 87% or whatever. I'm going to make it really contextual for the person on the other end to absorb and understand. So when you're reaching out to small companies, I think it's always a good idea to try to spark some familiarity around like the company you're talking about. So this is sort of the background, right? Taking that conversational tone of like, Will, are you familiar with XYZ company? When we met them, they seemed to be at a similar stage to you, is sort of implied. Most leads came through their PLG motion. I see PLG, I immediately think, oh, you know what we do at Lavender, right? You go to our website, you can download our product for free. And so if they add that into an email, I'm like, okay, at least they did some research, at least did some segmentation, right, to figure out what we do, as opposed to this generic data analytics software companies. Then explain very specifically, after I give like my lay of the land, right? This is the background, the action, we bolted onto their outbound team. Specifically, we focused on helping scale up their individual user base. Results. As a result, their team had to 2x to manage the qualified inbound. Monthly MRR growth has 2x'd. Has your team done any outbound for this yet? Right? It's like, okay, you had to hire twice as many of like your reps because it's going so well. I don't know, I made up the results, right? But the idea is like you're giving background information with a conversational tone up here. You're giving some actions that were taken, clearly understanding what you do, and then results that came out of that. And then I'm just opening it up for dialogue. Really simple. Hey, has your team done any outbound for this yet? Yeah, I think another way you could phrase it is what I'm going to do in the second follow-up that I put together, which I refer to as the thoughtful bump. So one of the things that catches my eye when people are saying, I want to follow up my last email, so they're trying to get somebody to like bump into it and sort of like open it up, sort of bumping it to the top of your inbox. And so, hey, Will, did you catch my note? Did you have any feedback on my last email? Those are the kinds of messages that are much more internal sounding. Hey, Will, did you see this? Then you explain why you'd want them to actually see it. So you say, I reached out because we've been having a lot of success working with PLG driven companies. If outsourcing some of your outbound isn't a priority, just let me know. Happy to share some of what we've seen working. So this is a really useful opt-out, by the way. So when you're doing your outbound, you're like, okay, I'm going to give you a little bump. Then I'm going to show you why I reached out in the first place. And then you're giving them a very friendly opt-out clause, which is like, hey, if this isn't a priority, no worries. Just let me know. And if you do, I can always share some of the things that we're seeing with companies very similar to you that is working, right? But I've made it specific enough that like the person on the other end could be like, okay, that makes sense. I can help out. So a couple really easy ways that you could go in and create a better experience for the person on the other end. I don't know why lead gen companies are still doing the same god awful things, but here we are. If you enjoyed this, be sure to subscribe to Sales Hackers Weekly Newsletter. Be sure to check out their YouTube page, but also just be checking out the video channel on Sales Hackers website. I'm constantly coming back with a new episode every week, at least I'm trying to do every week. And you can sort of search the archives for fun episodes I've done either solo or with my co-host Christina Finseth. But until next time, I'm Will Allred and appreciate you dropping in.